Hey guys, Philosopher here, and today I'm going to talk about the two new characters that have just been announced, Valkyrie and Jane Foster. They call her Mighty Thor. Very, interesting characters, but ultimately, obviously, a war defense team. I would not be surprised if they're required for the next Scourge, just because they are Mystic Gear, mostly Mystic Gear team. 3 out of the 5 characters require Mystic Gear, and we know what Scopely likes to do is they like to create bottlenecks. Before I get to that, I will say that there have been some positive things happening here. There's a couple things that are positive in this blog, which I will mention. First of all, there's this new thing called the 7-day login streak, which basically means if you log in 7 days in a row, and I know most of you probably do, including myself, you log in every day. Well, now you won't need to worry about a number of the objectives. You won't have to do heroes and villain nodes, which are nice, so you don't have to, do that. You won't have to worry about the 2 blitz battles, the 2 arena battles, the 2 RTA battles. That's nice for people like myself who are busy. That'll probably save you 15 to 20 minutes a day. So that's nice, right? In other words, you can ignore RTA. You don't have to. A lot of times people like me, I like to do just one arena battle, try for, if I'm sitting, just try to do that round payout. You don't have to do a second one. So this is definitely a nice feature. Raid Sim, nice try, but really, once again, just shows that Scopely doesn't understand how their product works. And there's already been a lot of feedback from envoys to the devs about this. This is going to be exactly like Blitz Sim. The devs have mentioned this, and of course that's going to be a complete mess. For Greek raids, it won't matter. You just have, most people are autoing Greek raids anyway. But for Doom or Ultimus raids, it's not going to work. If you just put auto, in let's say the tech nodes, mutant nodes, most nodes, it's not going to work very well. Even in some of the Mystic and Skill, it may not work. And you're just going to blow your cooldowns and potentially have to spend heals to res your team. So, not at all what they were supposed to do here. It's just a very silly implementation. What they need to do is something like Galaxy Heroes does when, everybody in your alliance is beaten the raid multiple times. You just auto completes. That makes a lot of sense. You just get the rewards in your mailbox or whatever. That is, this isn't helpful at all. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's going to be helpful for maybe the Greek raids, just because you don't have to go into the node and wait for the loading screen and press auto. However, here's another funny thing. You're going to have to sim up to 60% of the raid or 80% of the Greek raids. Don't they understand the Greek raids are autoable for many players? Most mid-game players even are going to have no trouble completing the Greek raids. And, as for simming up to 60% of the Doom raid or Ultimus raids, the Doom raids don't even get harder as you get along, so that just doesn't even make any sense. But let's talk about these new characters. I think they're interesting. But the kits have some interesting elements in them. How interesting they are really depends on the speed and the stats on them. I assume this is going to be a good team. They don't seem absolutely bonkers to me, actually. They just seem kind of like above average. All right, so this is the Jane Foster character. This is the Jane Foster character. We could talk about her first, Mighty Thor. Kind of go with, looks to me a little bit like a comic book version of her. So let's start. She's a mystic. So you're gonna have 3 mystics in the team. You'll have Thor, her, and Heimdall, and 2 skill characters. So definitely have that issue. And also, of course, controller, which is another bottleneck in this game. Let's start with the passive. At the end of any turn, if this character is 5 or more charged, she attacks the enemy with the highest damage that does not have trauma for 250% damage and loses her charge, but then she applies trauma, and this attack ignores defense up, which is kind of throughout her kit. It's interesting. So, applying trauma can be very powerful, particularly in in conjunction with other debuffs, right? Whether it's stun or heal block or other things. So it's interesting. This is I think an attempt to give her an ability that's like the regular Thor, who has the charges that build up and then he does an attack. It's interesting. I think it could be in conjunction with some of the other debuffs in this team that this team is throwing out. I think it could be very powerful. On turn, healing herself. She's going to basically heal herself for 25% of max health, which is very powerful and on par with a lot of the healing that already the Asgardians have. And then when she attacks an enemy, apply +1 charge to all chargeable hero Asgardian allies. That's her, Thor, and Valkyrie, the new character. And then the team's got a lot of resistance against heal block. So on turn 1, she's got 2 different abilities. It's going to be interesting to see what the AI does first. So the ultimate, 7 out of 7 energy cost. You may be wondering why such high energy costs for the special and ultimate on this character, and it's because Heimdall is going to be throwing out 2 ability energy per turn. So having long cooldowns on them is their way of basically forcing you to keep Heimdall on the team. He seems pretty good after the rework anyway, but nonetheless, he's going to make the entire team a lot better given these long cooldowns. This is a turn 1 ability. You're going to tackle enemies for 350% piercing, which is really high, because you're going to ignore armor with that and then flip 2 positive to negative effects, apply blind to the primary target, and then gain 3 charge, and it ignores defense up. The special, also available turn 1, attacks primary and adjacent targets for a lot of piercing damage. If the primary target is stunned, reduce the speed bar. And so this makes me think she's probably going to go after Valkyrie, who does have a turn 1 stun. And maybe the way the AI setup is, Valkyrie will go first, land her stun, and then unless it gets resisted, Jane Foster will be programmed to use her special, which will then just, reduce that target speed bar and just basically make this a 5-on-4 because you're going to have a target that's stunned and reduced speed bar. Interesting. If the target doesn't have stun, it just applies disrupted. So it's much better against stunned enemies. It means that she's going to have a lot of synergy with Valkyrie. The basic seems very nice. Attacking the primary target for 300% piercing, which is a lot for a basic, and clearing 2 positive effects, which is the really nice part. The attack ignores defense up. It's interesting, by the way, in this kit, and then in some of the reworks, there have been callouts that have just in war as opposed to end war defense. Heimdall and Valkyrie have some real war defense elements in their kit, so I think this will ultimately be a war defense team, but they're making it so it can swing both ways. All right, Valkyrie, she's a skill character, which thank goodness, right? You don't have 5 mystic characters here, or 4, so her and Sif are going to be skill, which we haven't gotten a lot of lately. So when we look at the passive on turn, she's going to be getting that 25% max health healing, but then she's gaining 10% damage up to a max of 30. So her damage will ramp up over time to up plus 30% damage. And then when this character or a hero Asgardian ally dies, all this stuff has a 50% chance of happening, but on war defense has a 100% chance of happening. So on war defense, when anybody on the team dies, she's going to clear all negative effects, apply safeguard, and by the way, to the entire team. So to the entire team, when she dies or anyone else on the team dies, she's going to clear all negative effects, apply safeguard, and then apply immunity, offense up, and defense up for 2 turns to the whole team, generate 1 ability energy, heal for 20% of the character's max health, plus 8% per charge, and lose all charge. So it's interesting, obviously, with, let's say, Dormammu, this could even be more nuts, because this passive will be in effect, and you'll essentially get 2 lives for each character. It'll be interesting to see who you drop, probably Sif, I'm guessing, if you have the full team, because you're going to need Heimdall's ability energy generation. So this could be really OP. This, I think, is the most interesting and most OP/broken piece of the Asgardian kit so far in the Hero Asgardian team. And then She puts 25% crit chance in the team, which makes, I think, Raider a lot better. For some of the team members, we might see a bunch of Raider. And then a more defense on spawn, apply offense down to all enemies, which is nice. And then on war defense, lower the assist chance for all enemies by 20% per cosmic enemy up to a max of 100%. This is meant to counter Infinity Watch because they rely so much on Nebula and those assists. So this will really nerf them quite a bit. It'll obviously have an impact on others. Black Order if you're still using that, or Icarus and Cersei and so on. Okay. Her turn 1 ability is going to be her special. And, so it probably is going to go before Jane Foster, and she's going to apply 2 counter, defense up for 2 turns, and offense up for 2 turns to the entire team, and then attack that primary target for 400% damage and apply stun. Very powerful. It used to be turn 1 stun was very rare. Now this is more common, of course. If the primary target is death proof, this attack deals an additional 100% damage. Once again, an anti-Infinity Watch sort of thing. Interestingly, this might also put some hurt on heroes for hire who also have death proof if they're used on war offense, although I expect they'll be a war defense team. Turn 2, the ultimate's going to go attack primary target and apply ability block. If the primary target is death proof, more damage. If this character has charged rebound chain to 1 adjacent enemy per 2 charge on this character for 280% damage. And then, if, blah, 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 if the target is death proof, it deals an additional 50% damage. Interesting, not super crazy or OP. To me, the interest, and then here we can see the basic, but I should go here, 2 attacks. So this is, 550% damage on a basic, pretty insane, depending on how big her attack stat is. If the target is death proof, each attack it does additional 50% damage, so that'd be 650. And then it applies bleed and transfers a death proof from the primary target to the most injured ally and gains +1 charge. So to me, this character, if the ISO attack looks anything like this, she's going to probably be a striker just to, generate more of this and punish enemies that have death proof. But very interesting character. And this is a hero brawler, by the way, too. You could imagine being theory crafting with some of the, with a hero brawler team in a different, in different game modes, right? You might see her eventually in a raid or Dark Dimension where she's there with, let's say, Miss Marvel, and there's assists and so on. Interesting character. To me, this is probably the most broken thing here. But, there's some interesting elements to the kit. I think there's some interesting flavor here with her kit and with Jane Foster's. People may ask me, okay, do they appear to be like standalone awesome characters? Probably not, right? You have here a 7-turn cooldown, 5-turn cooldown, and then here you've got the 7-turn cooldown, 5-turn cooldown. I don't see them being super OP. They definitely need an energy battery. So, I think that they're going to be great on the team. This looks to me like a very good war defense team. How good, I think, is going to depend on their stats of the full team. We'll see how that team does together. This is a team, though, I think for a lot of players, they might ordinarily skip, right? War defense team, 3 mystic characters, and most people are low on that. But given the Scourge system, the way that Scopely tries to make you build up every new team, my guess is that people want to at least collect the shards and save those shards because they may need to build this team later. All right, guys, if you like that video, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel. If you have comments, questions, cheers, happy, sad, angry, mad, you can put it below or go to my Discord. You can also go to my Twitch stream. That is linked below too.